What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Fifth Down Territory. And just like Saquon, there's an owl my daughter has. And just like Saquon Barkley, hang on, babe. Just like Saquon Barkley, we're feeling pretty rich today because free agency is right around the corner. And we officially have NFL news to discuss again. How's everybody feeling about their teams heading into free agency?
I feel like my team has a lot of buzz around it, and I'm just like very nervous that they're just like not gonna do anything again. But like, how could they not do anything again? How could that happen again? Right? Like, right? Like that's how I feel. Like that exact expression statement. That's how I feel about this team. They have so much money in the class.
We can definitely take Deebo Samuel off of the New England Patriots wide receiver maybe list.
Yeah, because he is definitely a wide receiver for the Washington Commanders now. Going for a fifth rounder, the Commanders pretty much eat all of that salary, if I'm not mistaken, and that's just fine. You know, that's what you're supposed to do when you have a QB on a rookie contract like that. Like, there's really no downside to this move. Like, if he doesn't work out, so what?
The downside is that I just don't think he really raises the ceiling of this team. I mean, like, I don't understand he had pneumonia and all this stuff, but the last couple of years he hasn't looked the same, and I don't know that the Cliff Kingsbury offense really plays to him. Like, you know, everybody who's watching, leave us a comment, let us know how you feel about this fit. But I mean, the Cliff offense isn't really like a screen pass, jet sweep offense, and that's kind of like Ben Debo's bread and butter. So can he evolve and become a separation receiver?
He only has 1,000-yard receiving season for what it's worth, and that was like 3 or 4 years ago.
If they didn't have Terry McLaurin on the roster already, I would agree with both of you. But like, they have a proven number one guy, and he's stepping into a secondary role in this offense, which I think is fine. You're raising the floor of your playmakers is basically what you're trying to do here. I don't think they did this because they think they're going to unlock 2021 Deebo Samuel, but like, I do think he's probably a more reliable target than Jamison Crowder. Or who? Like, I mean,
De'Ami Brown.
He played okay, but like, he's also a free agent, if I'm not mistaken. Currently,
he is.
So like, you're just kind of raising the level. It's almost like the Austin Eckler move of last year, where you kind of know he's not going to play 17, but like the games you're going to get are going to be good. You're going to get a veteran leader in that room. Like, I like the move. You're paying a fifth. And money, like, this is what you do as one of those teams. Another big thing is one of those teams who aren't one of those teams. The Jets released Devantae Adams as they are just recycling yet again to a new era of Jets football under Aaron Glenn. We've seen this about 30 times since I've been alive, so I hope it goes well. I'm a fan of Aaron Glenn. Now Aaron Rodgers is off that team. Like, they're not hateable. So, like, what do you guys feel about Devantae Adams' release and for the Jets and for Adams?
I mean, at this point, it just feels like Adams and Rodgers are drinking buddies to a point of fault. Like, they're just going to end up at some new location together, and you're just taking that baggage on, but you're not actually going to win. So yeah. I like it from the Jets' perspective. I just don't think it's going to work out. You didn't give a ton to get him, so just move off. I just don't see how he actually comes like he's actually sought after by a lot of teams who aren't willing to put up with the Aaron Rodgers show.
Yeah, I mean, as a team that's a wide receiver needy team in this market, in this draft, I'm very interested. Like, all of these guys have some sort of nick to them, some sort like Deebo. The thing I've been hearing about Deebo, why the Patriots weren't in on him, is that he showed up to camp, or he shows up to camp typically, quote unquote, overweight. Okay, all right, whatever. Cooper Kupp has mileage. Yeah, Luka Doncic ish. Like Devantae Adams pushing 33. Chris Godwin, major injury concerns. Like T. Higgins, he's not leaving.
Okay,
All
but
these
here's
guys,
the thing, though, is like we're talking about Devantae Adams. Like you think Devantae Adams is going to go to his own team, and if that
I
is,
do, yeah.
I think he is a sought after commodity. I don't think that's what happens. I think he only goes where Rodgers goes.
What kind of contract do you think Devantae is up for? 32. He's still massive. He's still got great route running. He's still got great hands. Still a decent blocker. But like, what is Devante's value as a trade or when he's a free agent now? Like, what is his value?
He's right around that Calvin Ridley money, I would say. Same with Chris Godwin. Like I would pay these guys between 20 to 25 million a year. Like that's your wide receiver 2 rate, but like you can technically pay a wide receiver 1 that money if if it's the back end. If they have issues, all these guys have sort of issues. But yeah, so that's kind of I'm like right around like 25 is probably the max. I mean, if you're the Patriots, 28 because you have a little bit extra money and you still have to pay that suck tax if you want to get out of there. So yeah, no, how do you feel about that?
So if you're Devantae, you're going for the 1 year. Where are you getting paid? Because this is probably he's 32. Like, how many more opportunities does he really have to get paid?
Yeah. That's kind of how I feel as well. Like 1 year, like if you're a shitty team, 28. If you're a good team, between 20 to 25. Like it might give you that discount. But yeah, that's kind of where that's at. Nolan, you have any extra thoughts on Jets, Devantae, either side where you might land if they're a package deal with Rodgers?
I mean, I definitely think the big consensus is that he's attached to Rodgers wherever he's going to go. There's the whole storyline of, well, if Matt Stafford is gone in LA, well, Rodgers and Tay just are a package deal and land in LA. Obviously, that's not happening anymore. But I do see a scenario where, no one wants to be a suitor for Rodgers, and Tay says, "All right, well, I still have enough left in the tank. Let's talk some money." I think he's lost any kind of leverage to say, "Oh, I want a 4-year deal." I don't think you deserve a 4-year deal or anything like that anymore. I think you need to be playing on prove it contracts until you prove it again. So I would say, yeah, those 1 to 2 year deals kind of sit in that sweet spot of teams' cap space is where he needs to sit and belong. And if he thinks he is worth above that, well, then maybe he's going to sit on the couch with Aaron Rodgers this season as well.
Yeah, no, I definitely I like all of that.
Good take.
Personally, I think he should distance himself from that guy. I think Aaron Rodgers is cooked. I think Devantae Adams still has a year or 2 left.
Plenty.
I'd say 2. I'd say 2 years at like that. A1 level.
Being a difference maker. Like he could play later into his career because he was never really about explosive speed. He's always been really about technique and just in winning in smart ways. But some other news here: Saquon Barkley, highest paid running back in football, $20 million a year guy. We actually wrote, I think it was Cameron. I think he wrote an article about it today. That like it could kind of shape this running back market that has kind of been declining over the past couple of years. Like maybe
until last year.
Yeah, like resuscitate it a little bit. Like we could see some more deals like this coming down the pipeline for running backs who truly deserve it, which I think is awesome. What do you guys feel about Barkley's extension?
Yeah, I feel like Barkley extension is the no-brainer. That's the one that the Giants should have made years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's never going to stop the evaluating running back talent now versus a rookie running back on a rookie contract.
Yeah.
And
Especially in a class like this. Yuck.
Yeah, and like the Buffalo Bills we're talking about James Cook, and he wants 15 million. And I don't fault him for wanting that money. Like it's a very short window for running backs to really cash in. So no fault on that man for that. But
little comment here from the Real Fresh channel. It's too late for the Jets ownership to not be a joke. We love that. I think he's a Steelers fan over there, but as an AFC East guy, we love that. Oh, we lost Nolan for a minute. That's fine. Now he's back. There he is.
Sorry, that was my fault.
Oh, dude,
Booted
dropping
you.
people.
Yeah, no, Hazel had you cut, so sorry you had to do it this way. No,
got the snips. Oh no. He was cut like Devantae Adams was. At least you guys are in like the same
saw
boat.
This.
Oh, just put that away.
Yeah, I think the
Children
Saquon
shouldn't
thing,
see that.
Yeah, I wish we didn't have to see it. I've read I read Cameron's piece today, and like I don't know how I feel about the concept of like the Saquon deal revitalizing the market. Like it's an interesting concept. I just feel like you look at the kind of year, you look at the kind of year that Saquon had. Their special appearance guest of the year. Yeah, she's the guest of the year. Not the cool wide receiver we had a couple weeks ago, or the he's a wide receiver, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I think that the key here is like Saquon pretty much handed them a championship. And when that happens, like he didn't do that in the game, but he got them pretty much all the way there. When that happens, you're going to get paid. I mean, like you literally brought a championship. Like all these guys have job security now, like so they can afford to pay him.
That whole Chiefs game plan, didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry about that. But the whole
Chiefs it was around him. Like
it was focused on him.
Had a bad game, so everyone else could have a good game.
Exactly. So, yeah.
When you have that kind of impact, I mean, even if I don't think you're going to last at that performance level, like you should be rewarded for that kind of influence on a championship run. Like you just should. And so I think that's more a reflection of why he got that money.
Yeah, absolutely. Then rather than him being like a running back.
They also came into that year when they made that splash move because you go back and you watch the Hard Knocks clip of the Giants saying, "Oh, I'm going to vomit if Philly's still on the phone with him," and then he, obviously he went there.
We already knew
exactly. So I mean, they knew coming in that they wanted him to be their Super Bowl caliber running back. And the fact that they get to that goal now, I think it's not necessarily them saying, "Oh, well, he had to prove it to us." I think they knew, and now they just have all of this clarification and they just feel good about it. They're like, "Yeah, look, that's why we made this move. We knew what he was capable of, and he did it. This is what New York was not doing with him. We did it, and look where it got us." So, I definitely, I mean, this is the kind of deal that everyone thought the Giants were going to throw out to him, but they just didn't do it. And so Philly jumped in, took him for cheapo, and now he's got a Super Bowl and the highest paid running back contract in league history.
Yeah, love that. Jonah Jackson got traded today to the Chicago Bears. I believe it was for a fifth. That got Bears fans very excited. Rams fans are probably a little bit less excited. It always sucks seeing a veteran go like that. I mean, it doesn't seem like a big pick now, but with the Rams front office, they're probably going to move a couple of fifths and a third and get back into the first round and like do something weird like that. So don't worry, they're going to be fine because they're just always fine. Another Jets comment here from a non-Jets fan. Shout out to the Jets. No matter how bad your team is doing, you can always say, "At least I'm not a Jets fan." Yeah, sorry, Jets fans, for the just random.
I'm not sorry.
Okay, no.
I'm just I want to talk about this for a minute. I'm like, okay, I understand we all clown on the Jets, but like, I don't think the team was a bad move. Like, you went all in because you thought you had something, you didn't. The concept of a sunk cost is as true in football as it is in business. You already spent the money. Retaining him, if he doesn't want to be there, if he's not going to help the team, doesn't do anything. Like they're not.
Are we talking about Devantae right now?
Yeah, I don't know if
It's
that's
just
what
the
everybody's
Jets-
responding to for the clowning, but like I didn't hate Thier and Glenn hire. I don't disagree with the Tay cutting. So like, what are we clowning on them for at this point? You know what I mean?
It's more so getting Tay in the first place. Like, yeah, like when you look at it, like last year, it's like you're gonna fire what's it called? You're gonna trade for Devantae Adams, and you're gonna fire Sala.
Robert Sala.
There we
Sure.
go.
And I completely agree that they made some egregious decisions at the beginning of last year. But like so far this offseason, you got the Fox. I don't disagree with any of the moves that they made. You know, like I get it's a classic Jets move. There it is again. But I'm just saying, like, to start
I think
off
this is more so for past rather than what they're doing right this second. It's more so they're in the news now because of Tay, and it's not a bad move, but it just reminds everybody of the previous bad moves. You're just like getting thrown in the face.
Being down a third rounder when like y'all there was never really a chance for them to be a playoff team. Like
that's why.
I'm like, there's another one.
I know,
This was unprompted. This was unprompted. I didn't do this.
We didn't even bait this.
It started with Howie. Like, Howie started it. And then Mason continued it. He's not a Pats fan. He's a 49ers fan. I don't even know who Curious Sports Pulse is. Thanks for watching, man. We love that.
Yeah, this
you
is
know
crazy.
Chris is, though. He made the appearance thing.
We don't like the Cowboys, and what the hell are the Jets doing?
There you go. He gave one to Nolan too.
Yeah, show him, Nolan. Show him, Nolan. Yes, sir. Nolan, how many wins do you think the Cowboys are good for next year? 9 or 10 at best. I mean,
I would say low end 6, high end 10 or 11 would be. I'd be really good.
I'm in that 6 to 8 range.
Mason, shut the hell up.
Yeah, I think 7 or 8.
Something's rotten in Denmark. As far as the Jonah Jackson stuff goes, I think you kind of already touched on this, Tyler, but I think the right move is to make a move, right? Even if you're just bringing in bodies to compete in camp. Admittedly, I'm not super familiar with Jonah Jackson as a player, so I don't know the caliber of player this is. For a fifth, I can't imagine he's an outstanding addition. But obviously what you did last year didn't work. So at this point, I'm like, I will bring in 12 offensive linemen and cut half of them to protect the guy that I want to be my franchise instead of just wishing whatever. Because, like, you don't want to be in the position where there's a run on offensive linemen and you're sitting here holding the bag like, do I reach 25 spots or do I just not get him anything? So addressing it before is important and in is important. And then you put together the best line you can and then trust that DJ Moore is still good. You trust that Romo Dunze takes the developmental stuff. I mean, same GM that made
Ben Johnson has to get this offense working right. You know,
this is an important time to reflect that
high stakes for Ben Johnson.
DeAndre Swift was the first signing of last year's free agency.
Correct. Yes, he was.
And, he was the very first signing reported. So,
and guess who sent DeAndre Swift from Detroit?
Ben Johnson.
It was Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson didn't like his style. They like moved on from him and drafted or went and got David Montgomery and then drafted Jahmyr Gibbs. Like they moved on from him expeditiously.
I think the only other big thing I'm kind of pulling away from the Jonah Jackson move is I think they kind of had a panic moment of, oh, Trey Smith is getting tagged by Kansas City. We better go get somebody that is near that level.
Suitable.
Near that level that's not going to cost a whole lot. I mean, for a bag of chips, basically, for a 5th-round pick. And so they make a good little last-minute scoop move for him to try to make up for Trey Smith, because I think Trey Smith was their number one guy that they were going to go after if Kansas City didn't keep him around.
So, yeah, I agree with that. That was kind of our last bit of news. That was T and Trey Higgins were the only 2 people tagged. I think the biggest news out of this was the person who wasn't tagged. Ronnie Stanley wasn't tagged. Like that's the number one free agent out there as far as I'm concerned. Ronnie Stanley, left tackle. Like he is the best guy available at that position, a premium position, and he is available. So yeah, I expect we will get into this a little later, but I fully expect the Patriots to be 100% in on Ronnie Stanley with the money that they have been kind of hold up here. Very weird that the Ravens didn't do a bunch of other things to get him under the under contract. Buki, what do you think about this?
Yeah, we were talking about a potential Mark Andrews trade, which I mean is still on.
It still could happen. Yeah, it's still on the board.
Could happen, but yeah, that's like really the big one that I look at, like straight up. And where where do the Ravens go from here? And
they're gonna draft like 3 absolute studs in the first, second, and third round and be just fine. Like, but
another thing about the Ravens, what they've done so well is the comp pick formula. I don't think like we really talk about it too much here, but they have dominated like in terms of the comp pick formula over the last, I don't know, 5-10 years here, and they always come out like in the plus side, and they're always getting extra comp picks in the 4th, 5th round, and those comp picks are massive.
yeah, like, especially when you're hitting on them, like when you're hitting on those picks, they're huge. You're just like it's just free starters, like
it minimum deals.
Reasonable team friendly deals for a couple of years, and that's how you stay good. That's how you stay relevant. But yeah, we get into that a little bit more later. Let's get into our discussion points here. So the first one is combine performance outdated in the superstar era. Does testing matter as much as tape? I could start because mine's kind of quick here. Tape is king. Like if you want to know a player's true value, true worth, go watch the tape. But the willingness to compete is like a real thing. Like especially in a class like this, there was no like number one prospect. Like there was not, like if you look at 10 boards, you're going to find 6 or 7 different people having a different player at number 1 on their board. So this is where you can go show out in the combine and stamp yourself as the number 1 overall pick in this draft. Like I'm really disappointed in the top players in this draft for not doing this, because you guys, this isn't last year's class. Like this isn't the first 10 picks. You're looking like these are all studs. Like what's going on? Like we're 6 picks in and Joe Alt's like just going. Like Joe Alt went 5th. You know what I mean? And then Malik Neighbors, still elite players are going off the board still. And like that could be true for this class, but right now the perception is not that. So to go and up your actual draft stock rather than your value after the draft and show people after, why not? Like if you trust in your abilities, the only thing it can do is help you, in my opinion. Like if you don't want to get hurt, that's one. Like obviously, like pace yourself, measure yourself, be very healthy and ready to go. Like be prepared, trained, the whole 9. It's just like these guys are seasoned athletes. So that's my sort of take there. Nolan, what do you think?
Sure. So on the show sheet, I said in general, yeah, it's outdated. It's not the days of I'm gonna go way back here. Where Larry Allen is going to walk up to the bench press and everybody's like, oh shit, here we go. Because he's about to do something crazy. Those days are gone. And I agree with you. I think you said it very, very well that this class, I would say, is the most wide open for you to make a jump over some of these guys. And now is there like a few set of guys that you could say, yeah, okay, top 10. Anything outside of that would be surprising? Sure, absolutely. I think there's those guys every year. But with this class, yeah, I definitely think testing should matter for this class, just because some of the guys that did test ended up falling and have had bad combine days. So there's a few spots for some of these guys to move up. But overall, yeah, I think if you're not going to test, then your tape better be absolute perfection. And your pro day, if you have a pro day, better be perfection. Otherwise, you're hoping that your college tape is enough. And for some of these guys, it might be. They might have that good of college tape for it to kind of sit and ride out through the draft process. But for those of them that, maybe they need a few extra bumps and they didn't take it, only time will tell. We are past the days of guys giving a shit about having to go run the 40 or getting their hands measured, doing things like that. I mean, Joe Burrow did all that shit, and excuse my language, Joe Burrow did all that stuff, and he had just won a national championship. Like, he did everything that you would be like, oh, he's definitely not going. But he went.
Look at Anthony Richardson. Like,
exactly,
he was a projected 3rd round pick. He threw at the combine. He went top 5.
Exactly. Like, if you do it right, it will work for you.
Yeah.
Teams will look at you.
The other thing that I thought was a good point that you made was the pro day. Like, I feel like at pro days you get slightly different numbers than you get at the combine. And it always seems to
especially if we're throwing as a quarterback and like the quarterbacks who throw to like different receivers, they separate themselves. However, I was really kind of annoyed with like Shador and everybody else just being like,
yeah,
I'm not throwing at the combine. I'm gonna go throw at my pro day with the receivers that I know. It's like you're missing the whole point of the thing, and maybe that goes down to the agents because they were probably advised at that point. Like, throwing here is not gonna necessarily it can only hurt you. It's not gonna help you.
Yeah,
but I think the way that like everything is operated, it's less than ideal.
So yeah, we're talking about the combine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Here's my take on it: is I think the combine is like Moneyball baseball. Okay, it's like a bunch of old heads rubbing shoulders. It gives GMs a place to talk. It gives them a chance to interview.
All the GMs are in the same place at the same time.
Yeah,
that's one of the real benefits of it.
Say hi. So it gives the GMs that opportunity to interview in person, and a lot of people come and do the interviews and don't do the drills. But when we talk about our risers later, the only ones we're going to talk about rising are people who put up freak athletic numbers, and everybody else is a faller. Like, that's just what it is. Like, you either test how they expect you to test, don't move your draft stock at all. You test slower. Yeah, it's broken. I'm sorry. Daddy stepped on it. You test slower than they thought or worse than they thought, and you fall, or you test like a freak of nature and you go top 10. Those are your outcomes. Nobody's like, oh, he tested, a little bit above where we expected, so now he's a first rounder, not a second rounder.
Yeah.
You have dudes like Tez Johnson who were like, well, yeah, he's like a taller Tank Dell, except he didn't run a fast 40 and he had an average recon time. And now all of a sudden we're like, well, he dropped 2 rounds from the combine. Like,
no, he weighed in 145 pounds or 154 pounds. Like that, that's not acceptable to be running a 4.7. Like,
hey, no
it's not okay. Like,
yeah,
when you're that weight, you should be flying.
The combine is for the interviews, and it's for certain prospects to showcase that they have elite athletic upside. everybody else is a wash or a loss. And it sucks to say that. There's maybe 20 winners at the combine every year, and everybody else, it doesn't matter.
I feel that.
And so I just personally feel like, I don't know. I feel like maybe something like the Senior Bowl, like having actual like games or drills or things other than just a pure athletic testing, gives more insight in a modern day than
I get that.
Use VR and have them simulate like what route would you run against this coverage, or where are you going to throw against this, cover 2 shell or whatever. Like, do stuff like that. Don't just make it about the athletic stuff's important. But like, I'm not moved by a bad athletic score on Tyler Booker because he doesn't win on tape with athleticism.
Yeah.
He wins with freak hands and great intellect.
Mm-hmm.
He's never out of position. But then you get an athletic score and you get the red bar at the top. There's like 4.71 or whatever. Like, there's teams that subscribe to RAS scores.
I actually met that dude who created
it. Yeah.
Bentley is a
cool crazy
dude.
mustache.
You guys don't follow him. I can't understand how he's not bigger than he is. The dude that came up with this
crazy mustache, dude.
Runs like a crazy website for free. Like, I think RAS scores are important in context, but like, athletic testing is not a dictator over tape for me. It's always tape and then supplemented by that. And I think Anthony Richardson's a great point. Like, he wasn't supposed to be a high pick. He became a high pick because he tested literally like 0.001 percentile. He's the top quarterback.
Yeah, he looked like a robot.
They want him to be Josh Allen so bad.
He can't stay healthy. So
he's practicing with Josh this offseason. So like, if it doesn't happen this year, it's not happening.
Yeah,
but I don't expect it to happen in general.
How many dudes? Trayvon Walker over Aiden Hutchinson, I think, is also a great example, right? You lean into this whole like, well, he's got a better score, he's got better traits, he's got better whatever, and he's a fine player. But Aiden Hutchinson's a top 5 edge, top 7 edge in the league, and Trayvon Walker's not top 15. So like, you literally lived on like
game record.
Yeah, it's just stuff like that. Like, don't overthink it. Shamar Stewart's going to go stupid high because he tested like one of the best edges ever.
Whoever gets Shamar Stewart got one of the steals of the draft, honestly.
So I agree with you on Stewart's. He's a freak athlete. His production is definitely a red flag. But
it's like, so the same guys heralding Shamar Stewart. I'm on a soapbox now, so I'm just going to go. The same guys heralding Shamar Stewart. And as a Texans fan, like, I had some concerns about Will Anderson because they told me he wasn't athletic enough. He wasn't whatever coming out of college. Even the sack production wasn't going to mirror in the NFL. And those same guys are telling me, oh, Shamar Stewart can be developed. He's a freak athlete. The sacks will come. I'm just like, usually it's like guys who are addicted to gambling. And they just think they're like, well, I'm going to swing at 10 and I could get the number 1 overall prospect. You could also swing at 10 and get the 130th overall prospect and not have a job tomorrow. Like, so it just depends. Like, what's your approach? Do you have the team that can handle that kind of risk? Hey, baby, leave it alone. And I feel like most of the time the answer for these guys is no. The guys picking top 10, top 8, you don't have the team that should be swinging on this guy.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree.
And the rosters that build super teams, like the Eagles, I don't feel like they do that. They always take. Hold on, just a second, Daddy. Daddy's almost done. I know. I'm yelling. I just feel like they always take the pick that's obvious that other GMs are passing on in favor of guys with better cone times or whatever. And then Howie Roseman swoops in. It's like, well, we'll take that guy. We'll take that guy. We'll take that guy.
The Ravens do that shit too. Like,
Jalen Carter is the most egregious one of the bunch. Like, three techniques are hard to come by.
Yeah, no, for real.
And they got like a generational one that just slid right to him.
Yeah. Let's get into our risers and fallers. I'll rip off mine real quick. My biggest riser is Armand Membu. Obviously, he rose about 18 spots for me in my board. So now he is my 8th player all like total on my board. He went from 26 to 8. I think he kind of shot up over Will Campbell, over Calvin Banks. He's my OT1 now because he actually has a real tackle body. He has real tackle length. He's played tackle. my biggest thing while I was doing a lot of my scouting is just like reading these, watching these, and kind of getting the feel for these players. A lot of these tackles at the college level are going to move into guard. Will Campbell's probably going to be a guard at the NFL level. Like Membu kind of blew up as far as, you know, all the route scores that we were kind of talking about. He had a very explosive bench press, and if you go watch the tape, he's just such a solid right tackle.
We need to talk. The tackle class is moving incredibly in these draft rankings because what happened at the Senior Bowl with these measurements?
Josh Connerly was like an early pick, and he's now a late first.
He's losing like 2 inches on arm length, like half an inch on hand size, and that stuff matters.
Jalen Milrose was weird.
It's just like what happened.
Answer your question. The pass rushers humiliated a lot of these guys.
Yeah,
a lot. Yeah,
Mike Green, Savion Jones. They made a lot of these blockers look silly.
Yeah. But I will say, like, Membu wasn't there, I don't believe. I'm not sure.
No, I don't think he was at Senior Bowl.
It was the O lineman from Purdue, Marcus Membo. It was MBOW, I believe he was. But my second riser is Tyler Warren. He moved up 12 spots to me. He actually moved from outside the blue chip region. He's in my blue chip sector now on my board. I only have 1, 2, 3. I only have 6 blue chip players. He's the 6th. This guy is George Kittle. Like it may feel like a lazy comp, but like he creates insane separation from the tight end position. Yes, the VR approach is very cool.
Just had to drop all those comments in there that agreed with me.
You're right. I love it. He brings insane versatility. He can be moved around the formation. He's like not as good of a blocker as George Kittle is, but I feel like 99.9% of the kids who are coming out of college nowadays are just not going to be as good of a blocker as George Kittle is. So like if he can give you something in the blocking game, that's a lot more than, especially in this class. There was a lot of good receiving tight ends. He's actually a good inline tight end who can block, do it all. I think this kid's going to be an absolute stud. I hope he ends up at LA or in Indy or in
Thanks for the comments, Mason. We really honestly.
Yeah, you're going in.
So when we give prospect like comparisons, it's not like 1-to-1. Like he has Kittle aspects to his game.
Yeah,
Kittle's a beast because of mentality. This man does not care about his personal health. He does not care about anything but the game, and that's a rare trait in any player. So
Warren does have a little fact of that, though. He does sacrifice his body. He goes over
he's
the
out
middle
for like 2, 3, 4 games a year because the man plays with reckless abandon that hardly any other player in the league would play with. So when we're saying like Warren comps to Kittle, some of it's size, some of it's like, oh, maybe he runs routes like Kittle or whatever. So yeah, we understand that there's untouchable comps. Like when you comp a player to Patrick Mahomes, if you're just like, oh no, he's like Patrick Mahomes, you have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. No, I think
pocket presence like Mahomes, or maybe he's got a bit of a gunslinger mentality, and you're going to take like the best gunslinger in the league. Like it's stuff like that. But this is a great point, Mason. Like we're not saying 1-to-1 Kittle replacement.
Yeah, he's not George Kittle, but like if you go back and watch Kittle's tape in Iowa, he was leaving dudes in the dust. Like people could not cover that guy. Like
defend Tyler to the death. Tyler's genuine ball knower. He would not make that with the band.
Yeah, no, that one's not coming out of nowhere. Trust me. I feel like I've done the most work on Warren.
And dudes don't all develop at the same rate in the league either. They could be similar college prospects, especially and develop differently because of coaching trees, skill position coaches, landing plays, all kinds of stuff.
Tight end takes like 3. Sorry, go ahead, Tyler.
My third player is Amarion Hampton. He rose about 17 spots for me. He was at 41. He's at 24 now. When I do my annual like NFL draft bet, him going in the top 15 or 20 is something I'm going to be looking at. Like, I feel like those numbers are going to be pretty silly. And this kid's got everything NFL like executives are looking for in a top tier running back. Like I heard a lot of Brees Hall comps. He might not be as fast, but he might be a little bit more durable. He's a little bigger, a little stronger, not as fast, but he still has breakaway speed, as we kind of saw this weekend. Getting into my fallers, you kind of mentioned one, Tez Johnson. He fell 67 spots for me. You can't show up looking like that, running like that. I'm sorry. You're supposed to be a burner. And if you're not burning, yeah, you're an okay route runner. Like you might be like a solid player, but as a prospect, like in the prospect world, you fell from like a 4th round pick for me to like a 5th, or no, I'm sorry, to like a 6th to like undrafted player. Moving on from Tez, Mason Graham actually moved out of the blue chip like area for me. He moves down 7 spots, coming in 25 pounds lighter at the combine than what was measured at Michigan. So instead of 320 pounds, he's 295. Dude, I don't want undersized defensive tackle, and I don't want him in the top 5.
It's the difference between a real prospect and just me after a really bad weekend. Like that's 25 pounds is a big number.
Big
like
difference, dude.
Yeah.
That's not water weight. Like that's like you're playing at a different weight. Like you're not playing at 320.
That's like the UFC fighters jumping in the sweat tank and dropping 25 pounds after weigh-in so that they're lighter at the
It's
fight.
also like I don't know who in his camp would have told him to do that because like you said, undersized DTs just aren't the commodity right now.
And he's not Jalen Carter. He's not an athletic freak. He wins with grit, hand placement, and power. Like you want him to be 320, pushing 330. That was people who say that's not a red flag for them are like lying to you, in my opinion.
It's just I think everybody's searching for the next Aaron Donald. And it's like
he's not.
I don't think people understand Aaron Donald wasn't that undersized, and the dude was ripped.
Yeah, he was like 6 foot nothing.
Yeah, he wasn't under.
That's not that big, like for the NFL.
Yeah, he was 299, 6.
That is big.
Just like this.
Yeah.
You're like, yo, what?
He also is arguably like the best defensive player of all time. He's in that conversation. Yeah. So
with Reggie White, you're talking about like Aaron Donald and Reggie White is like I have this conversation with my dad. Like, who do you think was the best pass rusher ever? And like those are the guys you're talking about.
JJ Watt. But I'm biased.
No, I mean, so that's kind of where I'm at on Mason Graham.
Yeah.
It's almost like you don't even want to play him at defensive tackle. You want to play him at defensive edge, and like he's not an edge rusher. So like he
doesn't have the finesse for it.
It's a weird tweener. Like I don't want a tweener in the top 10. Sorry. And then finally for my fallers, Nick Scarleton, he dropped about 20 spots for me. He's still in my top 35. He's gonna be I think he's gonna be a late day 1, early day 2 pick, but it's a similar thing with Shamar Stewart about the production. He only had 5 sacks in college, I'm pretty sure, and like he doesn't have all of these insane metrics and athletic test scores to run off of, so he kind of fell a little bit in my board. When you're like looking at some athletic freaks and you're looking at other people with better production, he just kind of took a bigger hit than I was expecting. Real quick, I know this wasn't what we were talking like on the sheet, but players are off my board for off the field reasons. I don't want to get too much into them, but James Pierce, Mike Green, and Maxwell Harrison are all off of my board, like completely undrafted.
You're talking about Mike Green?
Yeah,
because he's one of the guys that was on my board, and there's probably clearly something that you saw that I don't know. Because I
found it out recently.
Yeah, but you and I, we were at the Senior Bowl, and Mike Green was the guy who was jumping off the tape.
Yeah.
So tell me why he's off your board.
Well, I mean, I've heard of multiple sexual assault allegations
Okay,
Like,
this is
two
news
in
to me. I didn't know
two
about any
in
of
high
that.
school, one in Virginia Tech. I don't know. Like, none of this is like 100%. I'm just hearing these things, and those things scare me from a personal standpoint. So I'm taking the player like that off my board. Then James Pierce, it was. I saw a report today that Tennessee, like their whole player, like staff, their whole like school board, everybody took a big deep breath as soon as he was off campus. Everybody was just like,
Who are we talking about?
"That's James Pierce Jr., their edge rusher." And then
Tennessee.
yeah, Tennessee, yeah, their entire like athletic staff was just like took a big sigh of relief that they're like, "Wow, that dude's gone. Thank God." And then Maxwell Harrison again. I'm hearing some allegations about him that are very, very troubling. He blew up the combine, and that's resurfaced, but those are legit as far as I'm concerned. Something happened there that was not good. So
We're talking about a few guys that could
like
have been difference makers that might have
yeah, that might fall.
ruined it all here. Well, that's unfortunate. That's news to me. I had Mike Green on one of my
As a
rides.
player, he's tremendous, and if some of that stuff isn't true, then like by all means, he's probably like a top 20 player on skill wise. But like if you see these players falling in the NFL draft like that, like there's a reason why. Buki, why don't you go next? And or actually, I'm sorry. Did you fill out the rest of the sheet?
I mean, yeah, I kind of filtered it out as I was going here. Yeah, Mike Green was the one that I had listed. Pulling it up here. Yeah, we talked about Shamar Stewart. Tell me why is Shamar Stewart falling off of your board?
He
same kind of stuff.
No. Shamar Stewart. I think Louis had the issue, not issue with Stewart. It was more so the fact that like he had a lack of production, and people are higher on him now because of the RAS score and the athletic testing.
Yeah, I can go next.
Oh, yeah. my other riser, Nick Emanuwari. I hope I'm saying that right. Safety here. He his measurables tested off of the screen. He was one of the guys that I was like really like. He's out of South Carolina, and I was really impressed by what he had to add. But yeah, that's the Mike Green stuff. That's some troubling news. That was news to me. I did not know about the sexual assault stuff. But yeah, he was one of the guys that really we saw at the Senior Bowl. Same deal with Shamar Stewart. Shamar Stewart left a day early. He was playing so well. So those were some of the guys that stuck out to me. And yeah, this guy Nick Emanuwari. Yeah, safeties don't generally go in the first round, but some of these guys in the DB class are really next level in terms of their size and the ground that they cover. This guy is 6'3", 32.5-inch arms, 43-inch vertical, 4.3, 840. That's first round talent.
He's basically DK Metcalf if DK Metcalf played safety. Like that, that's the combine he just kind of put on. That's what that dude just showed out and did.
Yeah, that's what I had. Louis, you want to run it?
Sure. I think Nolan and I ended up with some similar guys. So Nolan, I hope I'm not stealing your thunder here. Boogie, you kind of had some similar for risers. Shamar Stewart and Nick Amanwari, I think is how you say it. So they didn't rise up my board that much, again, because I'm like, I haven't officially put my board together. I really need to. I just think they're risers from the combine, right? Big performances. They're getting a lot of buzz. Sometimes media overreacts, but the people who are there seem to think they're also kind of locked higher than they were before. And people will take swings on that freak talent kind of stuff. Travion Henderson was one for me. I think he put up exactly the performance he needed to solidify himself as a round 2 pick.
Mhm.
They were talking about him sliding to the third. I saw some people saying he was a fourth or worse. I think, because they said he was just on a good team. He's not as athletic as you want him to be. I think he hushed a lot of that stuff. I think he really helped himself with a good performance at the combine. My fallers, I'm second guessing myself here. Isaiah Bond. I'm not crazy on that one, right?
No, you're right. He said he
Okay,
was going
so
to run
Isaiah
a 4-1.
There's two that ran together, and the other one of them had a better performance. Isaiah Bond, they thought was going to challenge Xavier Worthy for the time on the 40. He ran a 4.4
he said he was going to run a 4-1. He said that.
Yeah, he said that
out of his mouth.
He runs a 4.4. Okay, so a dude who benches most of his game off of speed doesn't quite put up as speedy of a performance as you want. I think it's a combination of the talk he was doing and the performance he put up that are going to lower him. I've heard, obviously I wouldn't know, I've heard that GMs, coaches like people who understand that they have work to do, right? They can take a realistic look at themselves, know what they need to work on. They don't need a hand holding. They can teach tape themselves in a way. Dudes who talk like this, I think, kind of get themselves in a certain light where they're like, oh, they think they're better than they are. I think that kind of hurts him a little bit. Tez Johnson's going to be on everyone. This dude was supposed to go, some people had him mocked second round. I saw people borderline first. I think that's crazy. Second and third. I think he's going to be lucky to be like a 6th round, 7th round. He might be undrafted, truthfully.
Yeah, I think so.
It's just not the elite times that you want. Even on the straight 40, which is more of a technique thing, his shuttle cone time wasn't outstanding. His 3-cone time, I think, was pretty good, but he just hurt himself. You want to be fast. You want to show that you're kind of like a twitchy guy, and he didn't get that.
Especially at that weight, man. You're 154.
Yeah, and then Malachi Starks is my other one. It was just an performance. We're talking about this guy's like a borderline first. I don't think he goes first at all anymore. I'd bet money against it. So he's going to be a 2nd round pick. My honorable mention for a riser is Jalen Milroe, just because combine talk. Not a performance that I thought was worthy of a huge discussion, but the talk going around the combine, which I think is smoke. This feels very much like a Will Levis situation where they're like, he could go 3rd and he goes in the 2nd or the bottom of the 1st or whatever. But I think Jalen Milroe has a loose chance to sneak into low day 1, high day 2.
I think he is.
Yeah, I'm going to respectfully disagree. I appreciate the point, but after what Tyler and I saw, that's a guy who's hard to put any belief in.
No, I completely agree. I watched a lot of his tape. I don't think he's good, but the noise about his physical prowess and how that stuff matters at the combine. I think there's a chance a team just burns something on him and he goes. I would not be surprised if he's a 2nd.
Or pick 32. If you want the 5th year contract.
Jalen Milroe's agent, if you're watching this, you're doing your job, my guy. You're doing your job. All right. We shouldn't even be speaking about this, but if it's got I heard it too. I heard the smoke.
I saw just too many reports to ignore.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have sources. So to anybody watching who thinks I have some insider knowledge, I don't. Okay. But usually, right, we go by where there's smoke, there's fire. So I don't think he's a 1st round lock by any means. But there's obviously enough discussion around him as a developmental prospect. I mean, just so everyone understands, nobody thought Trey Lance was going to go as high as he did, right? Depending on how young you are or how in, that was kind of a shocker based on physical traits, what he could be. I think teams are a little off that juice right now, but that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
If he goes higher than everybody thinks he's going to go.
If you feel strongly in that, or if you feel at all in that, you should put $5 down on that, because it might make you a pretty penny. Nolan, who you got, riser, fallers, and we can kind of move into these. I don't think we'll have enough time to do the QB controversy one this week, but we can do splashes.
Sure. 2 of my risers were guys we've already discussed in length: Shamar Stewart and Nick Imamwari. Again, just solidifying themselves with their combine performance, and I think that's what they wanted, was to solidify that they're worth a high first round pick. The other guy was, and I hope I don't butcher this, Bayshul Tootin from not West Virginia, from Virginia Tech. He had an incredible combine. I know that kind of goes against everything we just talked about of, we don't really care about his combine looks or like his numbers and everything, but he did everything really, really well. I mean, I wouldn't say, I'm going to throw him in a top 10 pick type performance, but it was enough that I think it is taking him from a kind of a sleeper pick to maybe a day 2 or 3 and be a good developmental project. And if you can make that kind of movement just from the combine, then I think you are going to rise up a lot of boards. Fallers, Malachi Starks out of Georgia just kind of was average. Someone that they thought was going to kind of maybe be that upper level with some of the O linemen was average. So he falls just a little bit for me. And then Tez Johnson, again, we've talked in bulk about him. Just disappointment in areas that necessarily we weren't expecting. But other than that, I didn't have any other followers. I just had those two. And then my 3 risers.
Can we talk about this one?
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that? Sports Pulse.
That's
Is
real.
the Jackson Dart Rise real or smokescreen?
That's real, and it should be. Like, that's real, and it should be. I actually
when you say rise, what do you think that means? Like, where does that mean?
Like he could be early day 2. Like, I think he's very, like, if the Giants don't go quarterback, if the Browns don't go quarterback, if the Titans don't go quarterback, I think he's very possible early day 2. Like, when I was watching the tape, like I get like Tua vibes from him. He kind of just feels like Tua. Feels like a very good first read quarterback. He's got a strong arm. He's a little bit more mobile. He's a really, really, really good deep ball. If you go look at the numbers too, he took less sacks. He had a bigger big time throw rate and a similar turnover worthy rate as both Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. So, like, he's taking less sacks. He's making the same amount of big time throws, and he's turning the ball over less, if not the same amount as the 2 guys rated, top in the class. I think he's a lot closer to Cam Ward than he is to, like, a Will Howard or whoever QB4 is in this class for you.
Yeah.
Do you think he has a chance to go in the first?
Back end. I don't think he goes in the top half of the first. I think he has a chance to go in the back end if, like, one of those teams
maybe if someone wants to take a chance on him, you trade him to that, like, 32 pick.
Yeah, and then you get the 5th-year deal, the whole 9. You know, kind of what they did with Lamar. Like, I could see that. I think he had a great combine. A lot of people like that kid. I heard a lot of smoke from people, like, within the Giants, at, like, people who work for the Giants down at the Senior Bowl talking about him, like, saying they liked him. So yeah.
I think he's going to be a preseason princess. He's going to play a couple games in preseason against backups, and people are going to say, wow, this kid looks really good. I just don't ever think he actually develops into a real quality starter. I don't think the read's there. Like, kind of like Tyler said, he's really good. He's really good at his first read. I think beyond that is where he struggles a good bit. But I think both him and Jalen Milroe have a wild hat's chance to go in the first, very bottom of the first by some crazy team. But they would have to have, like, some real good visits.
I'm, like, pissed. I like interviewed Bashal Tootin at the Senior Bowl and didn't hit interview. Like, I didn't hit record at the right time. I hit it at the end, and I have it, like, me walking around. And, like, I had the very end of it where he's just like, thank you. And we shook hands and I dipped. And it's just, like, me, like, walking around just, like, with, like, just legs. There's just legs everywhere. Like, good job, man. Idiot.
We learn from the school of hard knocks.
Yeah. No, I figured it out.
free agency starts on March 10th, so we do have to talk about that today.
Yes.
So I want to just real quickly, guys, give us who do you think signs the biggest contract? Or like what's the biggest splash? Not biggest contract, but like what do you think is the most surprising kind of turn of events signing in free agency? And then
who's
what do you
getting
guys think?
Myles Garrett?
Huh?
Who's getting Myles Garrett?
Well, that's a trade. Okay.
That was the
think
next one,
trade.
Pookie.
We'll talk about that too. But like pure free agency signing, what are you guys thinking? What's something you're like, I can see this happening? Go ahead. Nolan, why don't you go first on this one, brother?
Sure. So I had two names for this. And one of them is kind of all over, like a little bit of everybody here. I said Cam Robinson. That is a free agent left tackle. I know that the Jaguars traded him to the Vikings kind of last minute here at the end of this last season. But he is a free agent. So, I mean, if Minnesota does not want to pony up the dough to go get him, that is a high-level left tackle that I think is going to shift the market a little bit. I think that could be a big surprise signing for somebody. I could see Kansas City trying to pony up some money to go get him if they wanted. And then the other one I had was Chris Godwin. If Tampa Bay isn't the suitor, then take your pick for any of those wide receiver friendly teams that need him. If they got the money, go throw it at him. I don't care about the injury. Go throw it at Chris Godwin. Go get you somebody. I know Tyler would love him up in Foxborough.
So my free agency splash, if I can go next, is I think it's going to be a surprising low signing by Stephon Diggs to go to the Cowboys to play with his brother. I think it's going to be like 2 years, 25 mil. I think he takes under what he could get at market value elsewhere to go play with his brother, which is something they've always talked about. Helps Dallas address a huge need, but I don't think they're going to give him the bag.
I like that.
My other one, I think there's a real chance Sam Darnold ends up with the Giants on three. I have 365 is what I put. I think that would be on the low end. I think he could easily push 75, 80, depending. Just depends on where team value the end of the season versus the middle of the season.
He should probably get what Baker makes. Like right around there, probably like maybe a little less, like that $30 million like threshold range, 25, 30.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm comfortable giving Sam Darnold that. You know what I mean? So I'll go next. I think the Pats make a splash here. They have the most money in the league. They have Mike Vrabel now. I mean, am I playing myself? Possibly. We'll probably come here next week and I'm be wearing the clown makeup, but Ronnie Stanley did not get the franchise tag. They have said all offseason that they are going to build in the trenches. They want to make a splash. They have all of this money and they want to make a big name acquisition to protect Drake May. Ronnie Stanley is that acquisition. Like, that's the guy that you go bookmark the money for. You're like, here you go, big bag. You are like coming into your prime. You're not like an injured old has-been guy. You want to play football. The last tackle they signed retired in four days into the season. If you guys don't remember, Chukes Okorafor, he medically retired. But had nothing to do with medical. He straight up left. Anyway, and then the other one's Chris Godwin. They've been kind of linked to him all offseason. It's been T. Higgins, Chris Godwin. T. Higgins is not leaving. Chris Godwin is. I think that him being the hottest name on the market other than T. Higgins, I mean, Godwin's 29, so he's what, 4 years younger than Devantae. I know he has more injury history, but you might be able to get a little bit more out of Chris Godwin. So that helps a team like the Patriots because he might want a little bit more money considering he is the top receiver on the market.
I think it gets more interesting the closer we get. I think we'll see a good number of cuts in the next couple of days. Before the week's out, I think we'll see guys who are trying to restructure be like, okay, this is not going to work and getting cut. Like, I
think Joey Bosa
acquisition for somebody.
I think Joey Bosa is going to be on the move as well. I've been hearing he's a cut candidate. So yeah, Bahuki, what do you think? Then we can get into the trades and get out of here.
Yeah, and so we're talking free agents here. We're talking the guys that stick out to me: Javon Holland, Khalil Mack, DJ Reed / now Darius Slay.
Okay, I like Sly.
Those are the real difference makers to me in free agency. Of those guys, I would say Khalil Mack and Darius Slay are probably the two biggest needle movers.
Where do you think Slay could go? Because I mean, if we're talking
How
realistically, I think
old
he's
is
got
Darius Slay?
1 to 2 years left of like really good play.
He's going back to Detroit, bro. Like, we know that. We all know it. He's going to go back to Detroit, play nickel corner.
So what kind? I mean, what kind of deal is he looking for? Is he looking for a team friendly deal, or is he looking for his last payday here?
I think he already got his last payday. If he wants to play, he's going to go play for like the Lions and try and make a run here, in my opinion.
I could see him going to the Commanders.
Yeah, the Commanders are really the real team that nobody is talking about as a landing spot, honestly.
I think DJ Reed's gonna have a pretty big market. I've heard that Pats are gonna be in on him as well. They don't love.
He's really good. He's really underrated. Yeah, because everyone's always talking about Sauce over there, but no, DJ Reed is a real cornerback.
Jonathan Jones also a free agent this year. Don't know if he's coming back to New England. I've heard that Mike Vrabel isn't the biggest fan of Marcus Jones. So, like, if you're looking at that, like, I've heard that the Pats are in play for Tre'Davious Ward and DJ Reed. Like, one of these big name cornerbacks to spend their money on possibly is something to be out there as well.
What's it like to need a corner? I don't know.
Yeah, right. Must be nice. What's it like to need an entire offensive line?
Hey, shut the fuck up.
Dude, I was asking for myself. I need that.
Loki could be true for us, though.
No, it was definitely a dig at you, but it worked for both of us, so it was fine.
Okay. Yeah, those honestly
trade candidates.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like great free agent picks. Like I didn't even know DJ Reed was a free agent. I don't know how I missed that. And the Slay news, yeah, did he get cut today or yesterday?
Today,
yeah, it's really relevant. So great picks there. Yeah, go ahead and start us off with the trade. You said Myles Garrett, so can't just say Myles Garrett. Tell us who you think he's going to and how much you think they're paying.
So yeah, this is something I've talked to Tyler at length about. Is that this is like the piece that the Bills are missing is that certified game wrecker. And I don't think they're getting it at pick 30. I think the best case scenario would be if Kenneth Grant slid to them, and that's still an if. But like ideally, I would like Max Crosby better than Myles Garrett because Max is 27, Myles is 29, but Myles is really like, been like, I'm done here. I'm going somewhere else. And with that being said, you have to put a bid in. I've heard that the Bills did put in a bid and a handful of other teams. What does that look like? I don't care. You make it happen because that's a guy who moves the needle. And like, how many guys are there that you when you're at that championship, not quite Super Bowl level, like you're not drafting a guy that's gonna like put you over the edge. Like you can maybe pick up a couple pieces that make you incrementally better. Myles Garrett, the combination of size and speed that he brings is just not natural. And so yeah, who are the other candidates outside of Buffalo here? I could look
Detroit, Philly.
Detroit. So yeah, Detroit, Philly, I guess Kansas City, but the teams that were in the Final Four there are the teams that he would extend with. I think if you're making this trade, it has to be a team that he's willing to extend with, and that's a pretty finite list.
James Pierce Jr., combine faller, But yeah,
he,
I mean,
he
you can put it
will
together.
refuse to be coached. Like if the skills he knows today, right this second, are enough for him to be a game wrecker in the NFL, he will be. But if he needs to learn anything in the NFL to be that game wrecker, you're cooked, buddy. He won't learn. He refuses to be taught. That's his problem. People like he doesn't want to be coached.
Dude, that's the same thing my parole officer tells me.
But yeah, I'll do mine. My biggest splash trade prediction. I had to change mine on the fly, but it's gonna be Joe Milton for Jacoby Myers. Player for player.
Straight up.
Yeah, player for player.
Hmm.
Player for player.
Are you taking Jacoby Myers' salary?
Hell yeah. Every day on Sunday, you want to know what? Multiply it by 2 because they're assholes. Pay him twice. He should still be on the team. He never should have played for the Raiders.
Mhm.
Should give him back pay. Bullshit.
Okay.
Anyway, you could talk now.
my trade splash, I think, is going to end up being T. Higgins tag and trade scenario. Low-key sleeper
For 2 firsts?
for 2 firsts. Right
Yeah, he got tagged, brother.
He's not going for 2 firsts.
He got the tag. If you get traded from the tag, it's got to be I thought it was 2 firsts. It's it's the exclusive tag, is it not?
I don't think so. I didn't say anything about exclusive tag. I think it's a tag and trade scenario. I have it down as give a second, get T in a 5th. Because you have to pay him. And I have the Jaguars as the destination. Splash, surprise, out of nowhere. BTJ and T. Higgins.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Unlock Trevor Lawrence's potential, much to my chagrin.
I thought that like if a player got franchise tagged, they had to like it's like the signing thing.
So you can do
sign
like the tendered tag where if you sign with another team, they have to pay you. Like you can go test free agency in a sense, but it costs to leave. But I don't think the tag works that way.
That's interesting. Well, if that doesn't work that way, then the Patriots should definitely trade for T. Higgins. I don't give a fuck. Like
I think in a weak wide receiver class, it's the best time to move him. I don't love free agent class. I don't love draft class.
Dude, I definitely gotta look that up more. I could have sworn that like as soon as you sign the franchise tag, if you were traded, it had to be for a first or 2 firsts, depending on.
So obviously, I have Myles Garrett as one of them. The other one I had was Cooper Kupp. I mean, I would assume that whoever wants to take on Cooper Kupp is going to be a wide receiver friendly team that is ready to kind of add a wide receiver that has plenty left in the tank. And so I would say whoever gets him, I mean, I haven't heard any suitors that just kind of jump off the page right away that are like, yeah, that makes sense for him. But I mean, I think whoever goes out and gets him, if it isn't him staying in LA, if they don't just end up scrapping every bit of this trade talk and he just stays there, whoever gets him, I think is going to be making a bit of a splash because you get a high level wide receiver 1 in some offenses, depending who you got, if not a pretty good wide receiver 2.
Yeah.
So the franchise tag means the potential acquiring team can get Higgins for 2 first-round picks if the Bengals don't match the contract offer for the acquiring team. No trade offer, like that. I think that's a tender, though. I think
that's if a team tries to sign him out from under them, but they can still accept trades for him at any value.
Yeah. Okay.
Because if he holds out, it's like
yeah.
What do you do?
Yeah,
like that would give. I think that would give the player too much power. Like no one's going to give you 2 firsts from me. I'm not going to sit here on the bench. You're going to pay me $40 million a year. Like
I don't think it should be legal for a player to be tagged twice in their career. I think that's bullshit.
Back to back 2 is disrespectful. Like
yeah, it's bullshit.
It's
and then they're going to go give Jamar Chase $40 million a year.
Like
and they're going to
like me enough to keep me, but not enough to pay me. Like
Homie could have hit free agency at
Bro,
25.
that really be like side hoe energy for real. Like, hey, I
It-
want to keep you around, but you can't be seen with me in public. Like, it's
he's
just
gonna
not-
be he's
it
gonna
never
be
ends well.
20. If he goes through
That's
this
a
whole
good one,
franchise, if he goes through this whole franchise tag, he'll be 28 by the time he signs another contract at a different.
And with his injury history, it's just like, yeah, it would suck for him to be forced out of his prime without a real contract to speak of.
It's bullshit. bullshit.
It's crap. It really is.
And
But,
I'm saying that as a Patriots fan who wants to pay T. Higgins, but like also like it's not really fair to him to like just handicap the guy. But I think that's all the time we have tonight. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think we covered it good. This next week, legal tampering starts.
Yeah, we're gonna have so much news to talk about next week. Plus, I have like 9 hours of Monster Hunter Wild to play before work tomorrow morning at 8, so I gotta go get on that.
Yeah, you gotta get on that. You should have started that about 15 minutes ago. My bad.
No, you're good.
All right, buddy. Have a good night, guys.
All right.